core, and we're really just trying to invite more processes into our core thinking. Not just thinking about, do I have abdominal muscles or not? How does my back feel, good or bad? Are the left and right working together? But also thinking about core as being the starting point that everything else stems off of and grows outward from. So our legs have a relationship with the core. Our arms have a relationship with the core. If I go to reach for my cup of coffee in the morning, if it's really far away from me on the table and I pull it back, there's some core activity that happened with that. If I have a great big belly laugh with a friend, there's some core that belongs to that. So thinking outside of just, can I do sit-ups, yes or no? And really trying to think about the core as the starting point for all of these other movements that we see in our Pilates classes as well as our yoga. And truthfully, any type. If you are a weightlifter, if you are a runner, if you are a yogi, if you are a CrossFitter, you are using your core in all of these instances. Today we're going to talk about some movements on the back, such as leg lifts and what I've always called pendulums. Again, my words might not be the most correct way of describing things, but they are the way that my clients have heard me describe them, and therefore they work for us. So we're going to come on down onto the back side today. And as you come down, again, just remembering a couple of things. Once we come down onto the back, before we even start doing work, this is where we want to activate and become aware of the core. So the small things that we're looking for here are, is the low part of my back tilting up and therefore is my belly pressing outward towards the ceiling? Do I feel as though I just shrunk in on my shoulders and I'm resting in a tilted pelvis? Let's activate core and begin to draw down so that the spine feels lengthened, the shoulders feel smooth, and the seat feels grounded on the mat. So that's our first step to a core awareness, is just, can I feel a whole spine connected to the floor? Now obviously we have curves up and around our backbone, and so not every single piece of our backbone is touching the floor, but is it all coming in and grounding towards the center rather than falling outward towards the ceiling or towards the sides of the room? We want to draw in and downward to engage that core. We're going to then bring the feet up off the floor. And again, immediately you're going to feel whether knees stay bent or legs straighten, that this takes a new element of core strength, because now we have to manage all of the weight of the legs of our body going upward. And so now there's more core that has to be a manager for all of this weight. We've got very powerful muscles in our thighs. We've got very long limbs all the way up to the toes. There's a lot of mass that the core is now having to be responsible for, because there's no way that this can be responsible for itself. It's ungrounded. So the core is going to tuck in. Our first movement today is going to be single leg lifts. So holding responsible, finding the neck is long, the back is straight, keeping everything exactly where you want it to be. And we're going to push that right leg out and keep the left leg where it is, and then pull back up. Now we're looking for a threshold here. If I can lower my leg all the way to the floor without feeling that that adversely affects my neck, my shoulders, or my back, then that is how far I am going to go. However, if when I'm sending my leg forward, that causes my head to tilt back and my shoulders to lift up, then I'm only going to go so far as I can before that negative change occurs. So it is not about getting all the way to the floor. It's about making sure that I'm not causing pain or adverse reactions in any other part of my body. Let's give the right leg a rest and we'll send the left. Push up through the heel so your foot looks flat as though we're holding the ceiling on top of the sole of the foot.
Hold this right leg just where it is. Press down and out and pull right back up. And feel that the exhale starts about halfway down and halfway up. And then we can inhale when we get back to that comfort zone. And again, once I feel that negative change, once I might feel my head tilt back or my spine lift off the floor, I'm going to go for a shorter movement. Small movements done well are always better than big movements done improperly. Then let's take a break for a moment. So that single leg, anytime you do something with half of the weight, we're going to be able to do it more and longer because we're doing with half the weight. Once we start doing these things with both legs, we've instantly doubled the weight load that we're now responsible for. So we might do less of them, or we might do them for a shorter distance because we've got more weight that we're trying to manage moving away. We start the same way. We're gonna lengthen the neck. We're gonna hold long and firmly through the spine. We're gonna bring those legs up, making sure that that still feels like a positive condition, going all the way down the back and now up to the legs. Hands can hold the belly. Hands could hold the floor. Arms could come out wide. What we don't wanna do is start pushing out and down with the arms to take over some of that weight load. So we want to try and keep those arms pretty neutral and come on back up. You could even do this with hands behind the head. And you'll notice I'm not going quite so far this time because when I've got double legs moving, it takes more work and my body says, let's not do it as big. And I honor that. I say, okay, we'll do half-size movements if that's what makes the most sense. So again, we're looking for a threshold. If I get to a point that changes the condition of the rest of my body or my breathing for the worse, then I want to go with a smaller movement, and then we can go ahead, release, shake out, let it go. So those are forward and back leg lifts. And we're gonna do something, like I said, that I call pendulums. I'm gonna reorient myself so that you can see the movement a little bit better. So I'm gonna come onto my back, this way. And we can start with same engagement, press down, lengthen, feel a whole back on the floor. We're gonna find this time 90 degrees in the hips, 90 degrees in the knees. We've already seen this for a lot of our other movements. And we're gonna take the right leg off to the side. So here we feel it a little bit more towards the right side. As the weight of the right leg goes out to the side, the right muscles have to hold on a little bit stronger, and your left side might want to start lifting up. We're gonna try and make sure that we don't roll everything over, that we're not rocking hips. We're just going one moving option, and that's coming from the right hip. And we'll switch sides. Left leg goes out. Now for most of us, we notice here, one side does things differently than the other. Maybe in this hip, you're feeling that there's a little bit less mobility. Maybe this one feels as though there's a little bit of stiff or stuck in there, and we can just work it out. We're still trying to keep whole back to the floor and one moving part. Now we can do these straight leg. It's a little bit more challenging. Again, we've got more weight going up, but the movement would be the same. Coming out and coming back in. I always like to do it one leg and then the other. I feel like I get more effective work this way. Oop, I'm rocking a little bit too much on that one. But you could alternate. The one thing we want to avoid when we're alternating is rocking and rolling, getting a little bit too much dynamic movement. And then the last part of these pendulums would be both legs going together And be mindful that we're not rocking off of the floor, we're not trying to roll over, and we can do that with bent knees or straight legs. You're gonna start feeling this in those hip flexors, so come on down, swish your legs from side to side, press those hips up nice and high, and just wiggle it around and get everything feeling good once again.
So those are some movements we can do on the back, making sure spine stays long, making sure the neck does not, we don't want to ever feel anything in the jaw or in the head. These are not the muscles that are working right now. These are the muscles that are working. So if you start to feel it up in your jaw and in your neck, that's just letting you know we're going further than the muscles that we want to work are able to do right now. We take it back a little bit until these muscles are stronger, and then we can do the work without upsetting other spaces.